Hi, my name's Jonathan Hicks. I'm at the UK Games Expo 2018, and today I'm joined by
Mark, Steve,
and we've just finished playing Pixie Queen, which is a game about trying to curry favour effectively with the Pixie Queen who's in a castle up here. By moving your fairies, you can see them here, sort of gradually further and further up. They all start working down in the mines, and it's a worker placement game. So you can see all these spots in the board, there's lots and lots of them, but essentially when it's your turn you have some workers like this and you put them in spots. So some spots require 2 workers, so you can stick 2 of them there, and in this case you'd get 2 silver. There's a bunch of different kinds of resources, apples and honey and bread and things that you're trying to get as you go through the game. But some spaces only require 1 worker. So for example, you could alter turn order by going here. You could acquire a bonus tile. There's a few different types of bonus tile that might give you a bit of extra silver income, or let you copy some of the spots, for example. But one thing is that as you promote the fairies up here, if there's a fairy on the second spot, you can go here, even if it's not your fairy, for only 1 worker, so you kind of get this action cheaper. So the positioning on the fairies becomes quite important. This action here is one way that you can move your fairies further up, and effectively they kind of promote from one level to the next each time, aiming to become a loyal servant of the Queen. Now as we go through the game, there's a number of different kinds of victory point tiles that you're aiming to get. So you can see a whole pile of people have got these, and they kind of decrease in value as you go on. But whoever manages to become a loyal servant gets promoted to here. You lose the fairy, but then you get to take the token that's worth points at the end of the game. You can also hand in piles of resources to the Queen, which again is going to get you points. Here you take the next tile, and these are getting bigger as you go on. But every time you pay all the resources, you add an extra resource. So you might decide, oh, I'm going to add gold here, and then it means the next person's going to have to pay even more stuff. You can also hand in gold to try and make gold rings for the Fairy Queen. She likes those. The tiles are all gone now, but there's a bunch of tiles for those as well. So you can try to get points. There's different combinations of tiles. There's a couple of important tracks, which are the silver exchange rate, which determines how much gold you get when you exchange silver for gold, and the ring exchange rate, which determines how much gold you have to pay when you're making those rings we were just talking about. And now one important thing that happens at the end of every round, after you've placed all your workers and you've got a pile of stuff, is you then have to try and supply what the Fairy Queen wants. So you flip over one of these, they're normally face down, you flip over, so the Queen might decide she wants honey this round. And then you secretly look behind your screen and you decide from all your resources whether or not you can offer any honey. But you can also at the same time, if you want to, or alternatively choose to offer silver, which will move you up on the silver track, and gold, which moves you up on the gold track. The more of what she's asked for you offer, the more spaces you can move your fairies up. So that's a big way you're moving your fairies up. If you offer 3 honey in this case, you could move your fairies potentially 3 spots trying to get to the top here. And if you offer silver or gold, as I say, you can move up on this track. But then you have lashings. Now you start off here with 0 victory points, and what typically happens is you end up losing victory points, and lots of victory points as you get lashed by the Queen. So this marker here, you see, if you're at this stage, you're going to get 3 lashings, but the further you move up these tracks, the fewer of these lashings you're going to get. Also, if you've got lots of pixies still in the mine, then the pixies get lashed when they're in the mine, so you're going to lose points that way. So you do end up losing a lot of points as you start off the game each round, and you're trying to minimise how much you're getting lashed by the Queen. Now there's quite a bit more in terms of all these different actions that I haven't really talked about, but hopefully that gives you a brief overview. You keep going until you've gone through all of those different rounds, and at the end you count up your points from all the tiles. Whoever has the most is the winner. What do we think?
Yeah, it's an interesting little work placement game. I like the fact that it's a very negative one. Essentially, it's a bad fairy tale, and you're all getting beaten. Lots and lots of beats. Negative points worth of beating. It's quite fun, it's different. I do like the fairies moving up the track that can adjust how easy certain actions, obviously as Jonathan said about you require 1 of your actions rather than 2, which is interesting because it means you're looking at what other players might be trying to do, and maybe you want to put your fairy which doesn't help them rather than think and end up putting somewhere that will help them. There does seem to be a reasonable amount of different ways you can score points, like Jonathan and Steve pushed more upon getting the cast at the top, while I just didn't bother and left mine in the tunnels mining for me. But then again, I used all that silver and gold I got to then convert to rings. Getting the resource combination seems quite hard. I'm sure you could probably do it with fairies higher up because you get lots of free goods at the start of the round. Your fairies basically steal, so that's not something I could do. I expect they could have done that better. But yeah, it's interesting enough.
Okay. Steve?
It's different in that it is a worker placing game at heart, but rather than scoring positive points, you're trying to reduce the amount of negative points you have. So you can't just ignore things. I didn't go up on the tracks quite early on, and I was taking lashing after lashing, kind of falling behind the pace. And if you take too many lashings, occasionally one of your pixies is sent back to the mine, and you have to bring them out again. And the number of pixies that kind of filter up the village towards the castle where the queen is makes certain spots cheaper. So you can dictate, as you're moving your pixies up, you can dictate which spots are going to be cheaper. Made an error near the end of the game. I made the cost to build rings cheaper, and I shouldn't have done, because Mark was the only one who was in a position to build rings cheaply. And that's nice. There were 3 ways to score, and I think in a 3-player game, there is no scaling factor for... It plays exactly the same in a 4-player game. Obviously, in a 4-player game, there are more pixies and more spots being taken with the players. So with a 3-player game, in theory, you could go for one of each type yourself, and whoever does that most efficient is the better. So I think this might actually play better with 4, having not played it with 4, in that things will be fought over more. You'll be taking the spot to copy someone else more, and taking a higher number of lashings, and those decisions, about trying to be first, going 4th in a 4-player game might be much worse than going 3rd in a 3-player game, because a lot more spots are going to be taken by the time it comes to your 2nd or 3rd action. But what it does well. It is balanced, I think, in terms of some of the scoring goes up, some of it goes down. Reminds me a bit of Raiders of the North Sea, and there are different kind of cities you can aim to attack with a different stage of the thing, and there's a weird thing that's happening in the village, and the tracks to make certain things better. So it has that feeling, and in terms of weight of the game, it's similar.
Rating?
7 out of 10.
I'd give it a 6.5.
I really liked it. The theme is very different, and I love the fact that actually you're scoring a lot of negative victory points throughout the game. In general, I don't like take that games, but there's so much take that being spread around amongst everyone that it really doesn't bother me. You're just trying to minimise the amount of lashings you're taking as you go through the game. And thematically, I felt like it all fit together really well. Like I was trying to get lots of resources because you're trying to cash them in to give to the Fairy Queen. But at the end, if you have any resources left over, you're losing points for them because she's very dismayed that you didn't give them to her earlier. So I lost a lot of points at the end because I was stockpiling resources and I just forgot that I was going to lose the points. So again, thematically, it fits together really well. I thought it was a bit slow for what it was. And we were only playing 3-player. Like with 4, or it goes up to 5-player, I don't think I'd want to play it with 5-player. I think 4-player would be good, again, as long as people are on it and aren't taking too much time with the turns. But for this kind of game, I thought it was great. Really enjoyed it. I'd be on an 8 out of 10. Alright, thanks very much for watching. That was Pixie Queen.